Okay, so let's integrate this. So we are going to call this and confirm password. Where was it? I think it must be somewhere. It's this one. So we are going to have validators. And this is of course a list. So in this list we are going to pass in our first thing. This is going to be confirm password. Password matches. So, and we are calling actually the method, so let's have it like this. So this will call the password matches method, and we can try to do that. Now, before we run it, we want to check whether that's okay also around here. This is where we are submitting. So let's just check whether also confirm password is okay, is valid. And if not, let's have else if. This was to check email, so we can have self dot email input is valid is equal to false, and then we can do similar thing for confirm password. So what we are doing here is, right now we are checking if both the input and the password, confirm passwords inputs, they are not having errors, because this value simply checks whether there are no errors. And then if there are errors, then we check whether the error is the one for input by looking at whether email, the one for email input, checking whether it's the one which is false. If not, then we can check whether the confirmed password is the one which is false. Then we return something like this. So let's run this and see what goes on. So I'm going to have this is supposed to be Joel. So for this case, we can have let's just have the phone number. Let's have password. I'm going to have something else. I can't see the validation here. I don't know you guys realize that. I can't get the validation. Let me hope there's no error. I think there's error somewhere. There's error somewhere because we are expected to see the error in the input here, but when I was typing a wrong one, it is not showing. And so what's the error what's the error telling us? I think it has been telling us the error this side in our code as we are typing. I think let me just check the last one. So what's telling us? System Windows form blah 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 blah. Object has no value, has no attribute called value. Let's see what actually they use it here. It looks like this value is the actual value. You don't need to have value again. That's also one thing. This value is already the actual value, so we literally don't need a value to get a value again. It's already the value. Okay. So I think that makes sense. It's already the value. We don't need to add a value method. And we don't need to get value again, dot value again. So it's already value. Because dot value, we're assuming that we are dealing with the input object. So it means what's coming is not the object, input object itself, it is the value someone has entered there. Okay, let's do that again and see. Let me just make this correct. This is 867765, and then let's put a password of, I'm going to first put this, then I'm going to put a password which is not. Now you can see when I start putting a password, that validation is now working. And when I put register, are you sure you want? Okay, then I'm able to get an error that passwords don't match. Remember, this password is not match, it's not coming from password validation, it's coming from password match. So this message is returning, and when you come in fact here, let me just do okay here. When you come here, you should see that password don't match, message is actually there. Now that is, I think, about this advanced, what we have been doing are more like advanced validation criteria. And so we have learned several things. First of all, we introduced this in input validation, which will show you icon of red, which most users are about. And we learned how to make sure we can stop someone to submit when they click on register to submit from with that, because they could still submit even when we see errors in the inputs. Then after that, we learned how to bind one of our custom defined validation to that. Now, what you can do at this moment is try other validation criteria that are available. For example, we have contains, and then we have all these other things. Now, these are lots of things. Like I said, if you have to do them, then we have to turn the whole course into a Toga course, because this can go like 300 video lessons. So there are some things I'll mention about, and there will be practice exercise. And remember, it's always you who has to do lots of work to understand it, and my task is to guide you. And so you can try some of these things. Now, the next thing I want us to turn our attention to is how do we switch pages. So we are going to first determine how do we switch between login and sign in. Sign up. Sign in and sign up pages. Then if you have understood that concept, then we will go and disorganize everything. We want to disorganize everything, reorganize our codes. When I mean disorganizing, it means organizing also. We want to organize our codes, see whether we can use multiple modules and restructure our codes, because if you look at our codes, our UI is now becoming complicated. We are now like 581 lines of codes, and that's a lot of codes to manage. So we want to make sure that maybe different user interface will have different codes. We use all our programming skills to make sure our codes are manageable. But first, we need to make sure that how can we switch different pages, so we are going to introduce one techniques at least, and then that can help us to know how to navigate. So meet you in the next tutorial as you go through the validation practices.